Robin arrived at the coffee shop early to meet her future lover. She was still deciding whether she wanted to be with him. So far they hadn't engaged in any love affairs per se, but she knew she had to either give in to him or break it off. If they did, it would be the end of her marriage. When it came to matters of love, she couldn't multitask. She began her internal deliberations by reviewing her husband Kirk's best qualities. Kirk was the proverbial good guy. Initially, their relationship was restorative. Both had marriages that ended because their partners cheated on them. Kirk was a good, unbiased listener, and he had a strong shoulder to lean on. It didn't hurt that he was boyishly handsome, well-built, and had plenty of money. Kirk never pressured her into lovemaking or anything else she didn't want.
Welcome to the Dark Side channel. Dive into the world of human relationships, mistakes, and right decisions. Don't miss out. Subscribe and join our growing community.
She had to force him hard to make love to her for the first time. By then, Robin was ready to move on with him. Robin made it clear that the only promise that meant more than any other was fidelity. Kirk had to remain faithful to her and their marriage. She couldn't even imagine herself ever cheating. Their lovemaking in their marriage was outstanding. Kirk seemed reluctant to marry again because of being deceived again. Robin understood everything, but eventually persuaded him to take the risk. Their first few years were wonderful, filled with love and fulfillment. She enjoyed the attention he paid her, the compliments he gave her, and his tendency to go overboard with his gifts on her birthday, Christmas, and anniversary. On Mother's Day, he gave her more gifts than most actual mothers received. Robin didn't take it for granted. She didn't know what could happen to make her do anything jeopardizing her marriage. Everything in her marriage was perfect. She worried about considering cheating on him. She remembered how she felt when her ex cheated on her. Robin feared how it would affect Kirk when he found out he had been cheated on again. Why did she even engage in seducing Francois in the first place? Why risk her amazing marriage? Her only answer was that, though she loved Kirk, she was never truly in love with him. She passionately believed that Francois was her soulmate. When it came down to it, Robin realized she was more afraid of losing Francois than hurting Kirk's feelings. That's how strongly she felt when she was with Francois or even thought about him. Francois? Just the thought of him. It was a strong desire from the very first glance when he approached her table in that cafe one day. He had a killer smile with dazzlingly bright teeth. His wavy dark hair and sun-kissed features made her sigh in hope that he would notice her. When he spoke to her with that French accent, a part of her was ready to leave with him right then and there. Falling for him made no logical sense, but it undoubtedly made sense sensually. She remembered their first meeting. "Beautiful lady shouldn't have such a sad face. I'm Francois, and I'm a good listener." I'm Robin." She extended her hand for a handshake, but he took her hand in his and kissed the back of it. Robin's entire body shivered in response. For some reason, from the very beginning, she felt completely comfortable talking to this stranger about the light depression she felt and the issues she had in her marriage. Francois validated her feelings and her desire to do something about it. He offered his friendship and another meeting with her. She quickly agreed. That night, Robin thought about Francois being with her. She couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to make love to him for real. In the following weeks, her contacts with Francois became more frequent and intense. They progressed from hugs to kisses, and even a bit more. She snapped out of her reverie when Francois sat beside her, and again his smile made her melt in her chair. His presence made it easier for her to talk about what she needed to discuss. Robin decided to voice her desires. "Francois, I want to be with you so badly that it hurts when you're not around, but I just can't make love to you while I'm still married. Fidelity has been the cornerstone of our marriage. On the other hand, I don't think I can bear it if we have to wait for several months for the divorce. I don't know what to do." "Robin, have you considered legal separation before the divorce? It would allow you to avoid the hassle of violating your wedding vows, and it's simple and quick to do." "That might work. Yes, that's how it's done. But even then, it's scary to think about it. It's uncomfortable to talk to Kirk about this, but I need to. Sometimes I cry just thinking about how devastated he'll be." It took Robin a few minutes to control her emotions. She smiled and continued, I can't believe here we are discussing separation and divorce as if they were menu items. Francois, I can't risk my marriage unless I'm absolutely sure you'll be by my side. Francois looked at her lovingly and sighed in response. Your words would wound my heart if I hadn't already given it to you. Look into my eyes, my dear, to understand if I'm lying. Robin, I love you. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever known. You'll be the mother of my children. I've loved you and wanted you since the moment I saw you. I promise to love you until the day I no longer see you, many, many years from now. What else can I do to reassure you? I believe you, darling, but I still need to meet with Kirk about this news. It wouldn't be fair to him no matter how I put it, but it's the best I can do. I can't make love to you until then. I couldn't bear the guilt. Francois, come with me. You need to be there when I hand him the divorce papers. I'll need your emotional support to be able to leave him if he cries. Kirk is truly a good guy and doesn't deserve what I'm about to do, but I deserve the life I want with you. I'll be glad to come, as long as Kirk doesn't have a gun in his hands. He grinned. Don't worry. He's not a violent person. I'm more concerned he might harm himself. I truly hope he finds a woman who will love him as much as I love you. Kirk came home and immediately noticed there was no smell of dinner cooking in the kitchen. He assumed they were eating out. Robin entered the living room with a serious expression and delivered the dreaded phrase about a woman's betrayal. Kirk, we need to talk. Kirk continued to stand, trying to keep himself composed, expecting bad news. Kirk, I hate to do this to you. I love you and don't want to hurt you. He cut her off. But I've met someone I'm in love with and am sure is my soulmate. I hope you'll believe I wouldn't do this if I wasn't absolutely sure it's for the best for both of us. I've prepared legal separation papers that will turn into a divorce petition in 90 days. However, for now, the document states that we're free. Our wedding vows don't apply, and we can be with someone else if we want. Ultimately, when you see that it's better for both of us to live separately, I hope we can still be friends. She awaited his reaction with trepidation. Through clenched teeth, he asked, Who's this bastard? There's no need for name-calling. You don't know him. His name is Francois. He's from France. I want you to meet him to be sure everything will be okay with me. I think under different circumstances, you two could have been friends. I've already packed a couple of bags, and I'll leave with him tonight after you two meet. Francois, you can come in now. Francois emerged from the kitchen. Immediately, he and Kirk locked eyes. There was a moment of shock for both. Kirk approached Francois. Robin worried she misjudged her husband's inclination toward violence. As they faced each other, the tense atmosphere was broken by Kirk's exclamation. Frankie, you son of a gun. Kirk, you old dog. They hugged and patted each other on the back. Francois Frankie spoke without a French accent. Man, it's great to see you. How long has it been? 10 years? How's your mom? She's good, thanks. You know, she was asking about you last time I talked to her. Kirk glanced at his wife and then back at Frankie. I see you're still a ladies' man. Yeah, sorry about that. I had no idea she was your wife. I guess she's using her maiden name. Surprised you got married. Thought you'd die a bachelor with some hot chick. Don't worry about it. I'm tired of her anyway. Well, you still have a good eye. She's a fantastic one. I decided to get married without wasting time trying to seduce someone new. Were you really going to leave with her? Are you kidding me? I hunt, I sleep, and I let go. I thought we'd last the weekend before I had to fly back to France. I don't think I can do that kind of thing anymore. I don't have the energy for seduction and escapades. You've lost it, man. The chase is the best part. Lovemaking is just icing on the cake, and you know how much I love icing. They laughed. Hey, Frankie, want to hit a bar and find someone? Of course. And I know a good spot. I guarantee we'll get lucky tonight. Hey, now that you're officially separated from Robin, it's even better. She can't use your fooling around against you in the divorce. Are you sure you don't want to stay here and claim your prize? Not really. I don't think Robin is too keen on me right now. He turned to Robin, who sat there stunned, like a deer caught in headlights. She even looked more like a deer struck by a semi-truck. Finally, she spoke. What about me? Both men burst out laughing. "Your bags are already packed. You need to find somewhere else to live. This house was mine before we got married, so by the time I get back, you shouldn't be here anymore. Frankie and I will definitely have company when we return." Robin burst into tears as the two men left. Thank you for watching the first story. We've prepared another one for you. Enjoy the show. Michael sat on the edge of the bed. He was indulging in one of his favorite pastimes, watching his wife of 30 years, getting ready for the evening, to have dinner and then dance. This time was different from all the others. This time, as he enjoyed watching her, he was almost overwhelmed with sadness. "Today she's more beautiful than ever in all the time I've known her," he thought. Dawn was turning 50 tomorrow, and since they had planned a family party to celebrate her birthday with their 2 children and their families, this evening was supposed to be a private celebration just for the 2 of them. As she sat at the dressing table, he consciously took in her face and body. "She's still stunning," he mused. The gorgeous hair, beautiful face, and the same toned figure she had diligently worked to maintain for many years. And let's not forget that peachy shape she always teases me with. He felt deep pride and love for her, and then sadness crept back into his heart. He was a practical guy. He prided himself on his analytical abilities. If there was a problem, especially at work, he was the one to turn to for an answer. Maybe not the quickest answer, but you could rely on it being the most logical and well-thought-out one. Unfortunately, that's why he sat on the edge of the bed in their bedroom, watching with a heavy heart as his wife prepared for the evening. Is this possibly the last time I'll take pleasure in watching her do this? I still love her with all my heart, body, and soul. What did I do wrong? Why couldn't I foresee this in time to do something about it? Am I right? Do I really know her? Questions seemed to roll around in his head, then loop back as if they were ripples on a pond. He knew this evening would be the most important crossroads in his life. It would either be a new beginning for him or the end of his life as he now knew it. He had been planning this for over 2 weeks, and this evening was a perfect opportunity for him to have the most crucial conversation of his life with his wife. He had spent countless hours trying to understand how they had reached this point in their marriage. He had uncovered so much in the past few weeks. As his thoughts became clearer, more and more signs emerged, clearly indicating that perhaps they weren't the couple everyone thought they were. And again, unfortunately, he meticulously listed them in his mind to make sure he hadn't missed anything or misunderstood what he had done. For several months, I'm not sure exactly when it started, she was distant and distracted around me. Looking back, I realized that our intimate life was slowly but steadily declining to the point of disappearance. Then there were moments when she overreacted to something trivial I did wrong and royally chewed me out. Moments when she clearly lied about where she was and who she was with were especially concerning. The charge on her credit card for a dinner for 2 at Jolly's restaurant on that evening, when I knew I wasn't with her, was a clear signal to me that maybe I wasn't the only one on her mind. However, the past 2 weeks have been a period where my suspicions became even more real. Almost overnight she changed. Now she's attentive to every word and need of mine. Now she seems eager to make love at every opportunity. Now she wants to be the wife and companion she wasn't so long ago. What happened this time? It's driving me crazy. I can't understand why she changed all these months ago, and I don't understand why she's changed again. But in either case, it's obvious to me that neither of these women is the woman I married and loved all these years. Where did that wonderful, caring, loving woman go, and will I ever find her again? Who is this woman I don't know, and what led to her creation? I don't like either of these 2 women. Enough is enough. Time to take this show on the road, as they say. Darling, I just want to tell you how much I love you and how I adore looking at you, said Mike. You're so beautiful, baby. You know I love and adore you. I've always loved you and always will. Dawn looked at Mike's reflection in the mirror with a curious expression on her face. Thank you, Mike. I don't know what prompted you to say that, but I want you to know that I love you just as much. Dawn looked closely at her husband. I wish I knew what's been bothering him lately. It seems the more I try to work on our relationship, the more closed off and distant he seems. With a mental sigh, she thought, I just need to keep trying. I'm not giving up on us. I just love him so much, and I want him to love me the same way." "I wonder if you really love me as much as I love you," Mike muttered quietly. "What did you say, Michael? You've been muttering a lot the past couple of weeks." "I really want you to speak up," she replied. Looking her in the eye, he said, "I wonder if you really love me as much as I love you." Her expression would have been amusing in most other circumstances. The shock of his words left her mouth agape and gasping for air. With a hint of offense in her voice, she asked, "Why would you say something like that? How could you even think of something like that, let alone say it out loud?" "Darling," he said, "we really need to talk. We have a little time before we leave, and there's something I want to tell you in a few questions. I don't need an answer right now, but I definitely want to get answers before the night is over. Of course, you can ask me any questions. I have no secrets from you because you're my husband, my soulmate." Michael almost laughed out loud. The tension in his body was so strong that he felt like a wire stretched to its limit. "Dawn, I want you to listen to me carefully. I have a series of questions and some statements that I want you to hear, and I don't want any answers right now. I would prefer you to take some time during our night to carefully consider your responses. It's going to be a tough request, but you really need to know that the life of our marriage depends on your honest answers." "Oh, damn! He wants a divorce. I had no idea things could go so wrong." Dawn gasped, but as her husband requested, she kept her comments to herself. Michael carefully and methodically went through all his questions and statements about his concerns that something serious was wrong with their relationship. "Firstly, you've essentially cut me out of your life for several months. Then for the past 2 weeks, you've been acting as if you're my slave, and you're bending over backwards to meet all my needs, including any needs I might have in our bedroom. Your mood swings have been spectacular and completely unpredictable. I've been walking on eggshells for months, feeling like I'm stepping on a minefield with your emotions ready to explode at the slightest misstep. You've lied to me multiple times about where you've been and with whom, and the final nail in the coffin of this old marriage was the charge for a dinner for 2, and I damn well know I wasn't with you then. So here's the deal. 1, do you want a divorce? 2, do you love him? 3, how many times and with how many guys have you cheated? 4, do you want to stay in the marriage, and if so, will you continue cheating? And what reason or reasons can you give me to convince me that I want to stay married to you?" Dawn just sat there. Michael thought she was showing immense control. He really had put a huge emotional burden on her. Dawn wasn't showing control. She just lost her ability to speak. Michael stood up and said, "Dawn, finish getting ready, and I'll meet you downstairs. We need to hurry, or we'll be late for dinner." Somehow she managed to finish her preparations and meet Michael downstairs. She somehow made it through the evening, and after Michael reminded her that he didn't want to discuss his accusations further until the end of their evening, she was able to almost enjoy the time she spent with her husband. She had really had too much to drink, and by the time they got home, she was ready only for sleep and nothing more. She was emotionally drained, and drinking alcohol, knew she wasn't able to continue the conversation with her husband. So she complained of tiredness and a headache. She quickly changed into her nightshirt and climbed onto her side of the bed. Fortunately for her, she fell asleep instantly. Michael decided to postpone the discussion until morning, and wasting no time, he got into bed. And surprisingly, he was able to fall asleep quickly and slept soundly all night. The next morning, Michael got up first, took a shower, went to the kitchen, and started making breakfast. First, he started brewing coffee, as from years of experience, he knew Dawn would soon come, as she almost always did, because she wasn't one to lie in bed for long. When she entered the kitchen, he was sitting at the table. "Can I bring you a cup of coffee? Do you want toast or something like that?" "Yes, I want coffee, Michael. Thank you for the offer, but I don't think my stomach is ready for everything yet. Last night, with everything that was said and done, and with alcohol on top, my stomach would prefer to skip breakfast. Dawn, last night was my turn to lay all this nonsense on the table where we can really understand where we're going and whether we're going to be together or not. This morning it's your turn, so I'll give you the floor, and we'll see what's what. Michael, I've been thinking a lot about what you said last night. I heard you when you stressed the importance of honesty and candor in my responses. Firstly, I want you to know that you're the only man I've ever loved, and you're the only man I've ever slept with since our wedding day. I'll try to tell you in the same order as you asked, as far as I can remember. No, I never wanted a divorce from you. There's no hidden lover in the background, so I can easily say I don't love this person who doesn't exist. Again, I've never cheated on you since we got married, so there's no army of men I've slept with to confess to you. I want to stay married to you more than life itself, and I'll remain faithful to you until death finally separates us. That charge on the credit card was just a business dinner that you either forgot about, or worse, I forgot to mention to you. Finally, the only reason you'll want to stay married to me is because I love you. I love only you with all my heart, body, and soul. I'm guilty of distancing myself from you for a long time, and you're guilty, too, of distancing yourself from me. I think we both went through a dry spell in our marriage and just didn't realize it at the time. Lately, I've started to understand again why I love you, and for the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to drown you in my love. It was my way of reigniting the fire that we almost let extinguish. Michael looked Dawn in the face, staring her straight in the eyes. Dawn met his gaze with a calm face and didn't flinch once from his direct stare. Michael, you need to know that I love you, and only you. Michael continued to look at his wife. Then his expression slowly changed. The look of deep sorrow and loss grew and grew until he looked as though he was just going to die. Michael, what's wrong? Are you sick? Dawn was becoming more and more anxious with each passing second. I need to call 911? Finally, Michael began to speak in a low, monotone voice. Dawn, I love you with all my heart and soul. I was hoping that we could finally be honest with each other. I think you just can't or don't want to be honest with me. I've given you every opportunity because I really wanted to stay married to you until the end of our days. Michael's voice began to grow stronger, and there was a hint of anger in his tone. I'm sure I've done everything I could to save our marriage, and I know you haven't done your part. Michael reached into the desk drawer, pulled out a large manila envelope, and handed it across the table to his wife. Dawn, I still love you, but love isn't enough, and I don't want to be your husband anymore. I filed for divorce. You need a lawyer. I don't want to see you or talk to you ever again. I'm going to pack some things and leave soon. I must say I'm very sorry, but since I don't believe you regret anything, I don't see any reason to think otherwise. You made the bed, and now you'll have to sleep in it without me forever. Michael slowly got up and went straight upstairs, where he began to gather his clothes and toiletries. He had already booked a hotel room and, on his attorney's advice, taken all necessary financial steps to begin separating himself from his wife, who was soon to become his ex-wife. Dawn didn't understand what was happening. She was so stunned by Michael's words and actions that she couldn't act. She just sat at the kitchen table for almost an hour, motionless. Finally, she managed to drag the dreadful envelope over to herself. She opened the flap and pulled out the documents, clearly indicating the end of her life with Michael. Why didn't he believe me? Why did he think so poorly of me? I know we can work this out, but he didn't even give us a chance. Dawn looked at the paper without reading it, then noticed that something was still in the envelope. It looked like a photograph, so she reached in and pulled it out. It was a picture of her with another man, engaging in intimate activity. The photo clearly showed her on their marital bed in their own home. The man in the photo was unmistakably not Michael. A scream tore from her lips. She realized that Michael knew. She thought she had lied so carefully and skillfully about her affair with Phil, and that Michael would believe her. She ended the affair and honestly tried to repair the damage done to her marriage and husband. Back then, she didn't realize, as she did now, that the only way to save her marriage was to be sincere and honest. Of course, since she cheated on her husband, honesty and truthfulness weren't among her main personal qualities. The bitterest pill was that her husband left and would never return. She was sure Michael would keep his word, and that divorce was the only solution he would find acceptable. she was also certain that she had indeed lost the only man she truly loved. The last sad fact was that the affair wasn't worth a single moment of the time she spent with her husband. She remembered her vows at their beautiful, lavish wedding. To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part. It was the final arrow that pierced her heart and finally brought her the same pain her husband had been experiencing for the past few weeks. It couldn't compare to his, but it was the strongest pain she had ever felt. She knew she was a cheater. She deceived her husband, their children, and their entire family. She would be a cheater now and for the rest of her life. Her whole family looked at her and saw nothing but a cheater.